And so they're not even having to leave Instagram, because once I got them to stop leaving Instagram, we got so many more email list subscribers. And this has led to like thousands of people signing up. I was shocked.
They've certainly done a lot for me. It's just this instant credibility that people see. So I give it a lot of credit.
You could 10x your ad spend, get 10x more leads in. But can you 10x the time that you're available for coaching? Probably not. The approach instead is to say, well, so now you're able to pay for all of your ads or even making a bit of a profit. You can raise the prices of your coaching, and everything that you do in your coaching is now profit.
I think you are being financially irresponsible if you do not have a newsletter. Every time I hit publish, I have a chance to potentially get on a sales call with somebody. And I write one thing and it reaches every single person that I would potentially want to work with.
It makes it easier for us to promote our own products. And because we send them to this thank you page after they complete their poll, we can promote something else. Our own stuff, a continuation of our sponsor stuff. So it gives us a second ad spot that isn't directly in the newsletter.
I did this thread a long time ago where it was like, here's how I've gotten to 3,000 subscribers on my newsletter. And this was one of the tactics that most people commented on. It was like, oh, wow, this is a good idea. I'm going to try this. I honestly can't even remember the other 9, but that one is the one that I remember because it led to a lot of great conversations.
Welcome to another edition of the Growth in Reverse podcast. My name is Dylan.
And I'm Chenell.
And we are going to dive into, we thought, hey, you know what? This podcast has been going on for about a year. And I thought it would be a good opportunity to, one, celebrate. Yay! Clapping sounds. You made it through a year of publishing this podcast. How has it been 1 year publishing? Like, what has been a big takeaway or maybe an experience you want to share?
Coming up with podcast topics is hard. That's my experience.
Yeah. So planning is key.
Planning is key. I love having people on the show. I think it's always interesting to like pull insights out of other people's stories, but people also enjoy when it's just us. And that's challenging to figure out like, what are we going to talk about today? So,
yeah.
But overall, the podcast has been super interesting, insightful, a breadth of content that we can repurpose and share. So I like it.
It's been fun. I've really enjoyed it. And I thought to celebrate, what we could do is we've had over a dozen guests on the podcast. I think it was closer to 16-ish podcast guests. I might be a little bit off on that, but I thought we would go through and review some of the best newsletter tips that we heard or that guests shared on our podcasts throughout the year. So I've picked about 6 clips, and what we're going to do is we're going to play the clips so you guys can hear them. We'll obviously include links in the show notes to each of these clips so you can go check them out if you want to watch the whole episode or just that clip. And then we're going to react to them. We're going to give our thoughts and feedback on the advice that was shared. How does that sound to you?
Good. And fun fact, I have not listened to any of these again, so this is going to be new for me.
Ooh, excellent. Okay, so let's dive into the first clip. This is from our very first guest, and his name is Eddie Schlaner, and he writes the newsletter and the website Very Good Copy. So let's dive into Eddie's advice that we heard him share very profoundly.
I'm wondering, like, so for just the testimonials on the newsletter, are you like reaching out to people specifically, or is there like an automated, like after they've been on your email list for 2 months, you ask them for a testimonial or something, or you just get those inbound?
In the very beginning, the first year that I was sending out the newsletter, that was like the focus of the newsletter was to collect testimonials. So okay. I think there was a link in there that said, leave a review, get a backlink. And that was kind of my offer to folks, because I would say, hey, I'll link back to your LinkedIn or your website if you leave a testimonial about the blog. So, well, it definitely worked for subscribers. Definitely worked for subscribers. And then, anybody else on the homepage, like this quote unquote like featured like testimonials, and those are folks that I've worked with in the past that maybe have garnered audiences of their own, or they just have a presence in the industry, and so I just ask them very directly, sometimes more than once, probably. Gotta ask. You gotta ask for them.
How much do you think those testimonials have played a part in your growth and in growing the newsletter and getting clients too? Sure,
yeah. I mean, it's hard to quantify it, but I think they've certainly done a lot for me. I mean, it's just this instant credibility that people see, and then I'm sure most subscribers will read something that I've written before subscribing to the newsletter, but with this kind of testimonial wall, so to speak, there's this abundant, credibility associated with the newsletter, I guess. So it's kind of like going to Amazon, seeing a product that has, hundreds of 5-star reviews.
Right.
It's just this kind of like length implies strength heuristic at work. So I give it a lot of credit.
Okay, so Eddie's advice. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, this is essentially his wall of testimonials, right? And this is he says that this was a big, important piece of getting people to subscribe, and he really credits the testimonials to growing his newsletter faster and even bringing in more clients and that kind of thing. So it's just social proof really helps.
Yeah, you did the 30 days of growth earlier this year, and you called this one the social proof avalanche. Which was really clever, because as you're just basically scrolling through his website, you will just see, cascading social proof as you scroll down.
And if you want to see what we're talking about, just go to verygoodcopy.com and just start scrolling. Yep. And it like never ends. And you can load more. It's so long, he needs a load more button. So if that gives you any indication into how much social proof he has on there.
It's great. And I can't remember in the clip if he says it or not, but he's almost kind of like embarrassed or ashamed at the amount of social proof he has. But I really think it's been a real huge credibility boost. And one thing we say when we talk about onboarding flow and like landing pages, you want your landing page or your sign up page, which in this case, this would be like Eddie's homepage. You want it to be clear, compelling, and credible, right? And one way to make it way more credible is to have actually people saying good things about you and good things about your newsletter. So I thought this was a really smart way to do it. And he also, one thing he did that I liked that I thought was smart is he incentivized people to leave a testimonial, and not in like I'll pay you basically for this, but like, hey, if you say something nice about the newsletter, if you genuinely enjoy it, leave a review and I will backlink to your website or your newsletter or your channel, whatever it might be, your social media platform. So I thought that was a really interesting way that he used some incentive to get people to actually say nice things. And even if it's not a massive incentive, it's a lot more than just saying, hey, leave a nice review for me. Thanks.
The other thing I'm realizing as we're talking through this is having this much social proof on your homepage is just like a reminder to yourself of the cool things you do.
Yeah.
So every time he goes to his homepage, he can probably just scroll down and be like, oh yeah, people think I do good work. And like, it's just a little boost on one of those days where you kind of need a little extra pushing.
When the imposter syndrome, you haven't had your meds yet, and your imposter syndrome is like, you go to your homepage, that's your medication. Oh yeah, maybe I'm actually good at what I do, or people actually enjoy what I'm creating. So yeah, that's
exactly,
I think, very important. Okay, why don't we dive into the next one then? This one is from a more recent guest, really smart creator named Sam Vanderwielen. And I had the pleasure of meeting her at Crafting Commerce for the first time this past June. You've met her before, correct? Oh, no, you hadn't.
I had not met her before. That was my first time too.
Okay, so...
But we're both from the Philly area, so we have commonalities, but no, we had never met in person.
Right, that's what it was. So let's go check out what Sam has to say. So you said before when we were talking about all signs pointing to your email list. So how does that work with social media? Because it's notoriously hard to drive newsletter subscribers from places like Instagram. So how does that flow work for you?
Yeah. So the way this started was that people would post reels about their podcast, like just showing a little audio clip or, whatever. And then they would just say like, comment here to get the episode. And that's kind of what we did all for like a long time. And people would just send a link to the episode. So I thought, again, all roads lead to the email list. And I was like, but this is a free episode that they can get on Apple, Spotify, wherever they go listen to podcasts. But how am I going to get this person on my email list? So we started doing something where we use ManyChat on Instagram, and we started saying like comment. We made it a funny word. First of all, this was the biggest thing that changed and drove so much more traffic to my podcast. Instead of me saying like comment 258 for episode 258, we started saying like, if the episode was about, like if it was related, I'd be like, comment peach, and they would comment peach. We made it a funny word or a funny emoji. And this has worked much better. And then it DMs the person the link to the episode, and then immediately follows up and says, hey, by the way, did you know that I have a weekly free newsletter called Sam Sidebar that 50,000 creators get every single week to learn how to blah, blah, blah. If you want in, click here. They click, it says, great, what's your name? You say, Dylan. Great, Dylan. What's your email? You put that in, and because it's synced with Kit, it just automatically is inputting them into Kit. And so they're not even having to leave Instagram, because once I got them to stop leaving Instagram, we got so many more email list subscribers. And then the second strategy I'm doing with podcasts is that I've grouped them into little like playlists around a topic. And so like I had a bunch of episodes about money and taxes. So I created like a CEO's Guide to Money playlist. And I say, like, do you want this playlist? Comment money. They comment money. It's like, great. What's your name? What's your email? Great. Here's the link. So we're only actually giving them the link to the playlist after they've signed up for my email address. And this has led to like thousands of people signing up. I was shocked.
Oh, I love this.
And this is
It's so
free,
funny
like organic content too, right?
Yeah, because literally for years it was just like comment 258 to listen, and then that was it. We just like drop it off, and I was like, why aren't we following up with people? And so like now about anything I do now, I build it into the ManyChat sequence that if we give them something right away, we immediately follow up with like a, by the way, you should sign up for this thing, or put it behind something like the playlist, for example. The thing is to like give the person the thing right away in the DMs. Don't make them go to their email. So I'm still delivering the value right there. And they immediately get the link to the episode or the link to the playlist, but now they've automatically, through tech magic, they've gone onto my email list. So it's just so much better.
Okay. So what do you think about Sam's advice here about using Instagram and ManyChat and all that?
Oh man, it gets me so fired up. I want to use Instagram again. I like forgot she said this, and then I was like, yeah.
You said right at the end of that clip, you're like, oh, I got to use this for my deep dives.
I totally did. And then here I am. And
here we are.
Have you been using it? Later, so.
Yeah.
Nope. I know you love this one because you're all excited about ManyChat and the automations and stuff too.
It's a lot of fun. It's fun just to like build it and figure out how the whole sequence works, including it with Kit, building out even mini sequences within Kit for each of these. It can be a little bit time intensive, but I think it's worth it. You got to start pushing that snowball down the hill though. I find you really need some momentum with this, because if you're just doing this sporadically, it's probably not going to work. You need to start showing up in people's Instagram feeds and then continue to show up in their Instagram feed. So I really think this one is where consistency matters. And Sam has the capacity to do that because I believe she's got a team helping her a little bit. So my point is, I love how this can be scaled and really leverages a channel that is typically harder to convert people to subscribing to your newsletter. And it does so by keeping them on that channel. They don't have to like click through. They don't have to go to your landing page and then sign up there. And then, all that stuff. You ask for their email address in the chat. And thanks to the integration with ManyChat, it brings it right in. They don't have to leave. So I think it's really, really friction free and really interesting.
Totally. And you can integrate with TikTok too. I just looked. My brain's on TikTok because of talking to Millie T recently.
Yeah. Plug that episode right now. Go check out Millie or Chat with Millie. It was really good.
It was really good.
Yeah.
No, I love this one. And this actually we stopped recording the episode and then she started talking and we were like, wait, we have to record again. Cause it was just like gold, like nugget upon nugget. And we're like, okay, wait, record again. Just put this in the middle for those of you who like a little behind the scenes things. This was actually at the very end and we literally put it in the middle.
We're like, wait. Yeah. We need to record this. That was so good.
It was good.
I think it was because we were talking about how we were going to promote this episode. She's like, what are you guys going to do? We're kind of like, I don't know. And she was like, this is what I do. And we're like, wait, hold on.
Yeah,
that was good.
And if you're on Instagram, you should follow us and we'll put our links in the description. I am horrible at Instagram. And so my posts typically get like 10 likes. Mm-hmm. And so when I shared a clip from this episode and tagged Sam in it and she like added it to her, I don't know what it's called.
She collaborated. She was a collaborator with you. Yep.
Yeah. So that one episode got way more likes. And I'm like, oh yeah, this works when you actually do it.
Well, I was so inspired that I tried this with a few of our episodes. So if you want to follow me on Instagram, go to, I'm just at Growth Currency. So the name of my newsletter. And then you can see one of my pinned clips is, I think, Sam's episode. So it's like full meta inception. Like I use Sam's episode where she's talking about the strategy and use the strategy. So you can see how it works if you want to go in there and reply. I think I used the word peach just because that's what she used in the clip. I thought that was clever. I reply with the word peach and you can see how the whole thing works, at least from a user's perspective.
Love it.
Shall we move on to our next clip? Clip number 3.
Yes.
Okay. So clip number 3 is from Ollie Richards, he's hung out with us inside of GIR Pro, our private community. He's expounded his knowledge there and shared that with us. And then he also, we invited him on the podcast. So he came on the podcast and shared more of his knowledge. So he had already reached over $10 million with his main business called Story Learning, which was an online learning platform. But he wanted to build on that with a creator style business. And so he created this 118-page Google Doc that, again, Chenell, you've written about. We've discussed it ad nauseum probably on this podcast that people might be sick of hearing, but it was still a really fascinating case study. So we had him on the podcast to talk about that. And we kind of get into talking about some other flywheels here. So why don't we take a look and watch the clip now and reconvene. Something that you mentioned that I haven't forgotten since you spoke to us in the pro community, and that was about what you called, I think, a self-liquidating flywheel with your 7-figure marketing stack. It just like kind of blew my mind a little bit. So could you maybe talk about a little bit how you're using some of the funds from the 7-figure marketing stack to help fund your paid growth?
That particular marketing course, that was the first course I made. So this is a fairly standard model in the coaching industry. And the way it works is you go out and you buy ads, and you mostly run lead gen ads. You could have a cheap product, but lead gen ads are fairly common. Now, obviously, you've then paid for those leads, right? You might be paying $2, $5, $10. So the question is, well, how do I add cost? I can't don't want to just lose that money, make that money back so I can go and then buy more ads and increase my audience even more. So the really simple model to say, well, okay, I'm going out and I'm advertising, I'm offering a lead magnet, I'm getting leads to come in, and then I could just sell my coaching, and that way I'll make the money back. And if you're selling high ticket stuff, that's super easy to do with paid ads. Right? You might spend $5 on a lead, $250 on a customer, but then you make $5,000 back on the back end. For example, just plucking numbers out of thin air. But the problem with that is that you are now to continue to spend on advertising, your personal time is now being used. All right, so you pay to get leads in. You're selling coaching to those leads. So the growth of the business is dependent on your time. So you could 10x your ad spend. Even if you're really profitable, you could 10x your ad spend, get 10x more leads in. But can you 10x the time that you're available for coaching? Probably not. And so the approach instead is to say, well, let's use digital products to recoup that ad spend. So you go and you spend $5 on a lead. That lead comes in. You then offer a $50 workshop or a $100 workshop. And what you're aiming for is to get to a point where the digital products that you sell cover all of your ad cost. So now you're able to pay for all of your ads. You're at break even or even making a bit of a profit. The advantage of that is now you've got a lot more leads coming in. You can raise the prices of your coaching because you have more demand. And everything that you do in your coaching is now profit. And you don't have to spend any of that to cover the ad. And so that's the model that I use in my business brand.
So what do you think? Ollie's self-liquidating flywheel.
Yeah, I mean, it's just smart business. I mean, being able to recoup your ad costs right away without having to wait months or whatever is just smart. And if you can do that with a digital product, like you said, it's scalable and the flywheel just keeps spinning.
Yeah, I really love this because it seems obvious. And to him, he's like, oh yeah, this is a common thing in the coaching industry. But like, I'd probably seen it and just didn't know that that's what people were doing. And so to have him, kind of like basically pull back the curtain of what all of these digital marketing experts have been doing or are doing, I thought, hey, if this is like, I've been in this world for a while, but I hadn't really seen anybody explain it this clearly. So if I didn't know about it, I thought this would be an interesting one that maybe a lot of other people hadn't heard about either. So I thought it was really smart because I love how you essentially can scale this up, not exponentially, but I mean, really to the point where I love how he says you're getting more leads. And so you can now, the demand increases, your supply stays the same. So you can just increase your price, right? Of course, you have to deliver on that. But that being said, you don't have to give away your time for, pennies on the dollar. You can really scale up to where it's worthwhile for you to take those clients and take those calls or offer the service that you're offering.
Yeah. You have mentioned this one multiple times in the last couple months. So yeah, I knew this would be on the list.
I'm kind of obsessed with it.
Yes.
It's so good. Okay. Why don't we go to our next clip here? This is with Nathan May, who I think he's fairly well known in the newsletter industry, but he's probably not very well known outside of the newsletter industry in the creator realm and that sort of thing. So we had Nathan on the podcast a few months ago. He basically makes I'm not gonna say the very first thing that we talk about in this episode or in this clip kind of gives it away. So let's just dive in.
Let's do it.
Did you say you're running 1 million ARR with 1,000 person list?
Yeah. So we went from 0 to 1 million ARR. Yeah. It was cool. So we went from 0 to $1 million AR in about 10 and a half months, a little closer to 11 months last year. So we hit it in, I don't know, November, December of 2024. And basically, I had a bunch of stuff I had to figure out when I entered this market. Because like everybody else who does newsletter ads, like they either came from the industry or they had like a huge following. And so I was like, what do I do? Like, that's a lot to go up against. I think 2 or 3 things worked really well. One of them was this newsletter. So I didn't know it was going to be a good idea, but now I think it's a very good idea. So I think like any founder, if you run a B2B company, so you sell a service, right? That could be an agency, you could be a lawyer, you could be, whatever, you mortgage guy, any kind of like service or B2B SaaS, I think you are being financially irresponsible if you do not have a newsletter. And so what I did, which I didn't know before, is I thought, all right, I want to do a newsletter, and well, who do I really need to work with? At each of these newsletter companies, there are maybe like 2 people. I need like the CEO or the founder, and I need the head of growth or the VP of marketing. That's it. And so like if maybe there's like 300 newsletter companies that I want to work, so 300 times 2, 600. Okay, can I get 600 people? That's like an Excel list. Like I can go one by one by one. I can meet those people at conferences. I can email them. I can LinkedIn message them. Like it takes this giant like nebulous world. It's like, oh my God, like how do I run ads? Do I cold email? Like there's all these people I could reach. I was like, no. You just need the 600. Can you just get 200 of the 600? I can do that. And so that's what I started doing. And I would go, and I think this also is important. I made it a private newsletter. So you had to be, it's kind of cute. You had to be like invited, I like invite you to the newsletter. And I would LinkedIn message people. And I have a bunch of screenshots of this and stuff. Like for instance, so I LinkedIn messaged Sean Griffey, who was one of the 3 co-founders of Industry Dive. Big deal, big guy. And I just go, hey, I run a private newsletter for newsletter operators who are doing 7, 8, 9 figures. It's generally for CEOs and their heads of growth. A couple people like X and Y and Z read. X and Y and Z were mutual connections that we had. Or a lot of times I'll do competitors of the person that I'm messaging. So it's like, oh, they see their peers are reading this newsletter. Okay, now I've now elevated the status of the newsletter. Would you mind if I add you? And then I manually add them. They give me their email, and then I don't give them some landing page where it's like, oh, here, you go do it, right? Mm-hmm. White glove, I do it for them. And I add them. Yeah, that's been a great tactic.
Well, and then when you send out the newsletter, you actually at the top say, welcome to blah, blah, blah. And like there's 4 or 5 really big names that have joined in the last week. And it just like solidifies the reason I'm reading this newsletter. I'm like, oh yeah, so is Tyler Dank and, Nathan Barry or whoever reading this newsletter. And I think that's such a smart move too.
Yeah, I think I stole that from something. I can't remember. But I like that part as well. And like for somebody who's like listening to this, like I don't have like my newsletter is like super ugly. Like there's no design. It's literally just like an email from me. Like but I think that's that's a good thing. Like if you like sell like a high ticket or like healthy product or service, like people want to hear from you. And so if you were going to go do this, I think everybody who has an existing company should go do this. Because nobody does it, by the way. So so this is important to know. Okay, why is this better than like cold emailing people? Well, number one, Sean Griffey's not going to get on a sales call with me. Like that's not, Sean doesn't know me. It's like, who's Nathan? I don't care about this, right? So the barrier to entry for a newsletter is significantly, for people who do get on sales calls with me, typically if you're a B2B business owner, you have like, all right, you get on a call with somebody, let's say they don't close. You're not going to have a chance to get on another call with that person for maybe another quarter. So maybe there's like 4 times per year you could potentially close somebody, right, for your product or your service. So newsletter, right? And then, so you have this huge list now. And then if I want to reach out to people, I have to individually reach out to all them. Well, so a newsletter kind of solves all that, right? Like the friction is extremely low. Anybody would join. And now I'm building trust. And every time I hit publish, I have a chance to potentially get on a sales call with somebody. And I write one thing and it reaches every single person that I would potentially want to work with. That's like, I think why it's so valuable.
Well, and the content is like case studies of what you've done or like these badass stories from people you're working with. And so you're showcasing your clients, which is amazing. I'm sure they love that. You're also showcasing the value you provide and like what you can do. And then you're just kind of putting it all together in a newsletter and delivering it nicely to them.
Yeah, I wouldn't delegate it.
Man, this is like firing me up.
The private newsletter strategy.
So many good things in here.
Yeah, this is a longer
I wanted
clip
to double
because
click on
I didn't know where to like end it because he just kept kind of going with like great advice.
Yeah. I want to double click on this thing that he said in the beginning, which was when he came into the scene, everyone else in the space that was doing the same kind of work was either had extreme experience, like working at the Hustle, maybe Matt McGarry, or they had an audience already. And he's like, I don't have either of those, like, you know, notable experience or this audience. So he's like, how can I stand out? And I think that piece right there, even if you're not running an agency, even if you're not running a newsletter, it's like, how can you stand out? How can you differentiate yourself from everyone else in the space? And so I think that was a big piece of this too.
And how did he do it?
He decided that he was going to go hyper specific and find the people he needed to talk to and put them in his email list and say, hey, do you want to join my newsletter? It's, you know, invite only. And then he was just sharing these incredible case studies. Like as he was working with with clients, he would share those, but they didn't have to have like notable names or anything. He could just be like, hey, I helped this one brand, you know, 1800% increase in sales or whatever.
Yeah. So you do need something, right, to showcase, right? It's a kind of a chicken and egg thing. But once you have that thing, that's when you can really start taking off and showing what you're doing for other people and building it up. We had I won't give away any names, but there was a member of the Growth Reverse Pro community who was on a call with last week, and they're targeting a very specific, sort of similar to Nathan, similar avatar, higher up business person. You know, they're struggling, like, should we do paid ads? Should we do this and that? And I said, well, have you heard of this private newsletter strategy? Might be worth exploring. I mentioned this episode to him. And so he was going to check it out because I basically said, you know, they're trying to sell a certain service. And I said, if you are needing to get X amount of clients, then why don't you just make this like almost like a cold call list, but do what Nathan did and just reach out to these people individually and say, do you want to join our newsletter where we help people like you? I just thought it was like, it's reverse engineering sort of what the end result and the people you want to contact. You're basically cold calling them, like Nathan said, without like this cold call that is really kind of salesy and that people will ignore.
Yeah, 100%. I think we all just inherently try to overcomplicate the end result. Like if you need 3 clients, you shouldn't be trying to grow on Instagram. Like go find your people on LinkedIn or wherever they are, DM them. You don't even have to post content and just like start a conversation.
Yep.
So I think we always overcomplicate this. And this is a good example of making it more simple.
Yeah. If you have a business and you're trying to get clients and you have a newsletter, the name of the game is not grow to 150,000 subscribers. The name of the game is to get 150 subscribers of your key, your ideal client, right? And you can make a lot of money on a very small list. I think we've got somebody else in our community who does the same thing. She has like under 1,000 maybe people on her list and makes over 6 figures. So I think the point of this was to just really highlight the focused effort in getting the right people reading your stuff.
Yeah, love it.
All right, let's move on to our 5th and penultimate tip. Do you know penultimate means second last?
I did not know that. I was going to Google it. I figured it was like a Canadian term, which is funny.
No, I think it's pretty global. Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, so this is
that word sounds like it's like the ultimate, like top best. That's what I hear when I hear that.
I know
word,
that,
but clearly that is not.
I used to think that, but I'm like, no, that would be the ultimate by definition. So I was like, what is the pen? And I Googled it one day and I'm like, oh, I've been using it wrong. So this is with Caitlin Burgoyne. We'll let Caitlin take it away about how she's driving awareness to more products.
So like what I was thinking about is we were talking about, should we add a second newsletter? It may end up being a weekly thing. At this point, it's bi-weekly, so 2 a month, but it's called Friday. The idea is it's the only newsletter that rewards you for getting smarter. It's super short. Each issue is a little quick, tactical, buyer psychology based lesson with an example. But then it doesn't give away everything. Like our current issues, it's like, we're going to talk to you about scarcity, or we're going to talk to you about framing. So you know what the example is. In this, we share the example, we show kind of the use case, and then we do a little poll using Kit's polling feature where we ask, do you know what this specific buyer psychology technique is? And they give them 3 options and they click on it. And when they submit their answer, they're actually entering a contest to win a prize. Sometimes it's going to be a cash prize. Sometimes it might be something from our sponsor. So it's like, an annual subscription to their software, a ticket to their conference, whatever the thing is that makes sense. What I love about this is a couple of things. It is so short that super bite-sized. People open it, consume it right away. It makes it easier for us to promote our own products. So this allows us to choose our topics so that we can frame them around the products that we want to promote that are our own. And because we send them to this thank you page after they complete their poll, we can promote something else. So we can promote our own stuff. We can promote a continuation of our sponsor stuff. So it gives us a second ad spot that isn't directly in the newsletter. So we ran our first one last week. The open rate was super high. The click rate was super high. We're going to run our next one next week. It's harder for us to do production-wise than our standard newsletter in some ways, but I hope that the long-term value will be there.
This one's smart. I mean, there's no if, and, or but around it. She's just an insanely deep thinker and strategist about this stuff. So I don't know. I love the idea that it's like a win-win-win. Like the sponsor gets a better placement, the reader is learning something, and you're getting data and helping them. So I think it's like more of a shareable kind of newsletter now instead of just like here's this thing, you know?
Yeah.
It adds another layer to it.
Totally. The second newsletter, yes, I love the idea that it's kind of like a synthesized version of kind of their weekly. And I just think it's so smart that you're incentivizing people with something that's costing you $0, essentially. In this case, she did a cash prize. So, by rights, that would cost her actually the money the first time they did the poll. But really, you're incentivizing people to enter to win a digital product that you've made once. And now, to give that away, it costs you nothing, right? So it's costing you nothing to incentivize the clicks. People are clicking through and they're landing on
learning about this product.
Learning about the product because they land on basically a sale, like this sales page. It's like a thank you page, but it's really a sales page that showcases the product that like, oh man, even if I don't win this, I'm really interested in it. And maybe the next time I click on this poll and don't win, I'll be even more curious to buy it. So I think this is one of my favorite tips, at least from the last year. I thought it was really clever.
Yeah, I like it.
All right, let's go to the ultimate and final clip.
Not the penultimate.
No, the ultimate and final clip. And this was one of our first episodes as well, with a guest at least. So now we're going with Justin Moore, who some of you may know as Creator Wizard, sponsorship coach, very smart guy when it comes to all things, brand partner sponsorships. So for video and newsletter content. So let's take a look and see what Justin has to say.
You were doing some, what I call the unscalable things in the deep dive I wrote, like one-on-one DMs, like every time someone followed you on social. Did that work really well, or was that just like you trying stuff?
The one-on-ones worked super well, like the DMing people, because I did it not only on, it was Twitter back then, but on X, that worked really well, but also Instagram and TikTok. I did it everywhere. Anytime anyone followed me anywhere, I would DM them. Well, first I had a criteria. So I would look at their profile to see, does it say like YouTuber in their bio or creator, or I look at their content and it seems like they're like an aspiring creator. And I would say maybe about 50% of the people that followed me fit that criteria. And so every day I would spend, 30 minutes, an hour, basically like just going through and DMing people. And the success rate was super high of people opting into the newsletter. And so in the early days, that was a really effective tactic.
Do you still talk to any of those people that you DM'd?
Yeah. I mean, the other thing about that is that it opens up conversations. Because the other thing too is I was personalizing the messages. I had like a template, of course, but like I would insert the person's name. This would be really funny, is that a lot of times people wouldn't have their first name in their bio. And so I would click through to their YouTube channel and I would just like scrub through like 15 seconds of it. And they'd be like, hey, it's, Jonathan or whatever. Hey, it's Christy or whatever. And I would like get their name from watching a little bit of their content. And I would say that in the message and people would be like, oh, wow, how did you know my name? I like don't have it on my profile anywhere. And so people, I think, would be genuinely surprised that I like took the effort to just like find out what their name was.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
What do you think had the most impact of the methods you tried?
I really do think that one-on-one outreach was super effective. Actually, some people screenshotted it and talked about it actually on X, which was interesting, which led to a little bit of like conversation around that tactic. So if I had to look back on, I did this thread a long time ago where it was like, here's how I got into 3,000 subscribers on my newsletter, which felt like a lot at the time. And this was one of the tactics that most people commented on. It was like, oh, wow, this is a good idea. I'm going to try this. And so like, I honestly can't even remember the other 9, but that one is the one that I remember because it led to a lot of great conversations.
All right. Justin Moore.
Yeah, I mean, this is just one of those small things that you can't see other people doing because it's literally in the DMs, which are not public. but it can be so impactful. And I love that he even highlighted, like, yeah, I was building relationships. Like, this is opening a conversation for us to work together more, or just like be friends in the creator space. So I like this one.
Yeah, I wanted to highlight it because we've talked a bit about scalable things that people are doing that people can do. And this one is very grassroots. This is like when you're starting out and you're trying to get like this, forget your 1,000 true fans, just trying to get like 100 true fans even. And so people who are following you, how common is it for you to get an auto DM from somebody that's like, this like zero effort kind of put into this. They're just like auto DMing me, or no DM at all, right? So the fact that Justin was reaching out to people, taking the time, if he figured it was worthwhile subscriber, he was taking the time to find out their name, reach out to them, and just say, hey, thanks for following. By the way, I've got, this newsletter that might help you. So I think this is the reason why I also like sharing this, is because anybody can do this. Like anyone.
Yeah.
If you have
Totally.
a social media account and people are following you, you can do this. So I think it is something that more people probably could benefit from, and you don't have to spend hours and hours and hours every day or every week doing it. But if you take a few minutes every day to reach out to at least one person who's newly followed you, you're going to see a return on that, and you're going to build that relationship and trust as well.
Yeah. I think that this is I just want to highlight and underscore the fact, like you mentioned this, but reiterate, because I've had these auto DMs come at me. This is almost the equivalent in my mind of an AI comment, because there's no customization. Like, I might be a horrible follower for you and you don't want me on your newsletter. And so I love that he was just saying, like, I didn't do this for everyone, but I did it for the people that I knew would be getting value from my email list and would be a good subscriber. So just highlighting that piece of this, because I don't want to see a bunch of people start being like, oh, there's this tool that I use, because I've seen that done and it's not very good.
No, if you have to use a tool for this, then don't do it. I think that would be my best advice here. This should be pretty organic. Justin did say, yes, he's like copy and pasting part of the message, because of course, why would you rewrite the whole thing? Make it somewhat authentic. Obviously include the person's name if you can find it, and maybe a good rule of thumb. And he was talking about Twitter, where not everyone had their actual first names, but with LinkedIn, pretty much everyone has their first names, right? So if you're using LinkedIn and you're sending DMs on LinkedIn, then that's kind of almost like really low hanging fruit to like reach out to people. You can see what they do if they're like an ideal subscriber. So this strategy would be even quicker and easier to do on LinkedIn if you're growing an audience there.
Nice. I like it.
Sweet. Do you have any favorites, any standouts, or are there any that we didn't discuss here that you remember from the year that you want to just like quickly opine on?
Oh, no pressure. No, I think honestly, I feel like I just need to go back and listen to all of our episodes, because there's so much gold in here. And like, I think I forget this on a weekly basis, that I'm like, oh, there's like really good nuggets in here, that some of these things I need to like expand on and put in the growth vault. But it's just, people are interesting. Everyone does this differently. And the key here is experimenting and trying different things is going to far outweigh just trying to like plug and play somebody else's journey onto your growth story, right? Yeah. Like one thing for Kate, like the Friday email for Caitlin might work for her, but for you, it may not work. And maybe it's too much, or like you can't execute it well. So don't do that. But like it works for her, and that's okay. Yeah. You don't have to do everything that other people are doing. So I think experimenting with this stuff is really key.
I think also if you can figure out the way you are actually driving business with your newsletter, that will help. From these, 6 clips, just as an example, that'll help you decide which one of these might be worth your while. Because if you are doing something similar to Nathan, where you're running a high revenue consulting, not consulting, but like services business, then you would probably lean more towards that strategy than maybe say, Caitlin's strategy, where she's selling digital products and that sort of thing. So if you can kind of reverse engineer how you're driving business, that should help you sort of figure out which one of these strategies might work better for you. Or maybe you can mix and match and do something new. And if you do, let us know. We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, this is good. This was fun. Thanks for putting these clips together.
No problem. And so we've been doing this for a year now, Chenell. And so what does the beginning of the next year of the Growth Universe podcast look like?
Ooh, well, I think we're going to take the month of December off and kind of chill and work on revamping Growth Universe Pro, and just like spend quiet time of stuff, like instead of trying to like do podcasts and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
But definitely want to come back and do it. So I think just a little holiday break, and then we'll be back in early 2026 with some more episodes.
Yeah. So if you are sitting there religiously every Wednesday morning waiting for our podcast to drop, which I'm sure you all are, especially Elizabeth. Shout out to Elizabeth, who will certainly hear this episode when it's live. Yeah, we won't be around for the upcoming few Wednesdays in December. Thanks for hanging out with us over the last year. It's been a lot of fun. Just personally, I've really enjoyed doing this, and it's been great getting to know these guests and doing this with Chenell. So thank you.
I'm excited to come back even better with this. So it'll be good.
Yeah. All right. Well, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, happy every holiday you can name, and we'll see you on the flip side.
All right. See you.